I think many new UFC fans will tend to look at this character, Colby Covington, and maybe get some kind of disdain towards him or some kind of dislike towards him because of the way he acts and the way he talks. Not many people look at why is this happening? Why does Colby talk like this? Where did this come from, right? Well, we can all really date it back to when he was on the verge of getting cut from the MMA. He had just fought Dong Hyun Kim, and his contract was running up, and there was talks about him not being renewed and him not being re-signed. So out of spite, ever since then, Colby went to fight Damian Maia, and since that fight, he has just been a villain. He's been a heel. He turned into the villain side of fighters, like that, or like the trash talking genre. The people we see, like the Conor McGregors, who really instilled the trash talk, and Chael Sonnen, the bad guys, right? That's what Colby became. Colby started producing commercials and out of spite kind of content and all these interviews where he's just saying the most outrageous stuff. Even when he went on a post-fight interview and talked about Matt Hughes, when he was fighting Robbie Lawler. Matt Hughes, for you guys don't know, was tragically struck by a train and killed. And he said, just like Matt Hughes, you got to watch the train. You can't be on the tracks. And many obviously took disdain to that because no matter someone's background history, playing with death is always a touchy subject, right? Well, the reason truly why he had to become this villain, or maybe not had to, but became this villain, was to save himself from not being re-signed, right? And many say, yeah, you could still do that. You could still trash talk and bring many promotions and bring many pay-per-view sales, but becoming a villain and a heel is a different level. And I agree with that. And I do agree with that. I do think Kobe Covington takes it a bit far sometimes, but I truly think this is just his character and the way he does things, right? Because we know before that fight, the Dong Hyun Kim fight, he was very respectful. I mean, he obviously always had a little trash talk in him, but he was always like, kind of like a good guy, like respectful, right? Everything we could talk about. When he fought Bam Bam, respectful. Max Griffin, Jonathan Muner, he's a real good guy. Not, he's still a fighter, he still knock your face off, but nonetheless, he was a good guy. Good guy. And then, when Colby really hit the switch, he hit it like no one else, calling people out, starting these nickname trend where he's telling different fighters, you talking about different fighters and changing their names, and Marty Fake Usman started beef with Usman just so he can get a title shot, and just he always tends to go to extremes on any beef. He's not like Henry Cejudo, who's the cringe god who always responds with cringy. Colby has some very good comebacks and very good moments, but a lot of it just seems a little too much at times, right? Because we all know you're an entertainer and you're also a fighter, but we don't want to see you really ruin your whole entire like personality, you know. But as of lately, Colby Covington was on a podcast and or an interview, and he talked about Jonathan Anik and saying how, well, you don't want your kids growing up without a father, talking about Jonathan Anik, which is like, listen, whatever Jonathan Anik could have done to you, right? If he's talking to you about you behind stage or whatever. I mean, he's a commentator. He's not even a UFC fighter. Come on. And you're saying you're like that's a threat, man. Many people in the space, especially in our new world that we live in today, hold that to a wall. They say that that's too far. Like, why are you threatening his life? Telling we live near each other. Like, you don't want your kids living out. We watch what you say. That does get a bit far, and I understand that. And I also agree. But the reason he is like, Colby has a strategy with this kind of stuff. Why do you think he really, really, really got a chance to get Usman? And why do you think it was so expedited? Well, the reason being because of his trash talk, because of the hype that he brought to Usman and the fight. This is why Usman ended up fighting so soon. No, not so soon, but like why the whole world was really onto it, right? Because he's talking trash. He's bringing all this up. Now, Leon Edwards defeat Kamaru Usman to retain the title. Colby's the guy that's next up. Well, time for him to put on a show because he wants this thing to be booked and ready. And he doesn't want anyone else trying to step in and take his title shot. He said, this is my turn. This is me. I'm here. So that's what he's doing. He's putting on the show again. Every time the dust settles a little bit and he has a chance to get a promotion, a good spot in here, he's going to hop on it. And we all know that's how Colby Covington is. That's why we call him Chaos. I think Colby's a great fighter. But it's really the question is like how far is he gonna take this whole beef or not beef, but this whole attitude and character? Because as we know from Joe Rogan's podcast, when him and Jorge were talking, because Jorge Masvidal was on the podcast with Joe Rogan, Masvidal recounted about how he told Colby to work with him at their gym, Top Team. He was telling him how he lived with him for a while, took care of him, because Colby really needed him. And then to turn out that Colby Covington ends up not paying coaches and coming at Jorge and his kids. And I'm not gonna get anything personal with Jorge, but obviously befriending Jorge and then later on fighting him. So it's like, is Colby Covington just taking this as an act to sell pay-per-views and to sell commercials and get his money, or is he going to be ended up like taking out friendships and whatnot? Right? It's never a good thing taking out friendships. Because there's really no fighter in the UFC that in all likes Colby Covington. You could really ask everyone. Him and Hamzat or go back and forth at each other, not directly, but Colby Covington calling Hamzat dogface, and then Hamzat, saying how he's too scared to fight him, how he denied all the fights. I mean, it's ridiculous the last few days post 286 that we're not even talking about Leon Edwards as a champ that much. It's all about freaking Colby Covington because the guy knows how to put on a show, right? The guy knows what to do. The guy knows how to sell tickets. The guy knows how to put people in seats and get social media going. And that's why Dana White, I personally believe, gives him that kind of privilege, give him that kind of love. Maybe he doesn't show it. I know that Colby had once confronted Dana White in the casino, right? And that was something that Dana White didn't like. And then also, Colby Covington crashed Usman's open practice, which is another thing he didn't like. So obviously there's been some down times with Covington and times where Dana White didn't reflect well upon him, but in the end, he's bringing money to Dana White's company, and that's what Dana White values the most. So I think it's up to everyone to determine themselves if Colby Covington's too far, and if you enjoy Colby Covington, if you like Colby Covington. I'm not the biggest fan of Colby Covington. I think he's a little overrated. But I think his character, other than some of his unwanted comments, is right for the sport, is right for the business side of the sport. That's what they're looking for. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere, no matter how much he loses. Because if he loses, he's going to have excuses. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I want to go on here and just discuss it because there's a lot of hype going on with Colby Covington right now. So I just want to talk about it for a little bit. But if you enjoyed it, like the video, leave a comment, put the post notification bell on, follow my socials, and have a good one, guys.